Microphone too much. My name is Tommi Saxelin. I'm a Finnish guy working for Cisco, covering Cisco's data center business in Finland, Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania, so the Baltic countries and Finland. And as you can see, I am trying to match the color of my trousers to the color of the presentation and the color of the VMware banner, so that's why I'm wearing green pants today. It's not the official Cisco standard. It's a public holiday in Finland as well, so if I seem tired, it's because it's the public holiday in Finland.
Green thinking.
Sorry?
Green thinking.
Yes, this is green IT. What I'm going to talk to you about and show you is how you can automate your IT delivery. So how you can build a private cloud environment. I'm talking about a product that Cisco has called Cisco Intelligent Automation. It's a software suite that automates IT service delivery. And the way I'm going to demonstrate that is by logging into our internal IT's private cloud portal and then ordering a virtual machine for me, then trying to log into it. And as long as the Radisson SAS network is working, I can show you that. So I'm counting on the hotel to provide a quality wireless LAN. I hope it's a Cisco wireless LAN, otherwise we may run into problems, but then I'll just blame somebody else. So, how to build the cloud? First of all, what you need in a cloud environment is a couple of basic elements. You need a sort of a storefront, so a self-service portal. I'll be showing you how Cisco has built that. And you need the factory, the place where you then provide the actual service. And as with all factories or all modern factories, the factory needs to be automated. You don't want to have too much of manual labor going on in your factory. So if your data center is your cloud factory, what we are saying is that you don't want to have too much manual labor going on in your data center. You need to be able to automate things to be able to provide a cloud type of service. You all know what cloud computing means, so I'm not going to spend any time on definitions. Rather, I'm going to show how we've built it internally in Cisco with products that are available through our partners. So this is the basic thing now I'll show. I'll show the storefront, what it looks like, and then explain what's going on behind the storefront in the factory, in our data center. Cisco IT has an interesting name for this private cloud concept. Okay? They call it the cities, misspelled cities. So it's CITEIS, Cisco IT Elastic Infrastructure Service. Don't know why they do this. It's an internal service. They could name it something that makes sense, but rather they chose a crazy acronym that is cities. Well, what cities is doing, what Cisco's internal IT organization is doing for the private cloud deployment is taking all of the manual tasks in the orchestration deployment process and automating that by some of the tools we have. So they are automating the orchestration of the platforms, and they are building a self-service storefront portal in front of it, where we can go in and order stuff. And that enables them to provide an on-demand type of service, so a service that is available in a few minutes. Hopefully during this demonstration we will be able to see how we actually order the virtual machine, and it shouldn't take too long. We should be able to log into that virtual machine as well. So it's, you know, on demand within a few minutes that it is available. So this is what Cisco IT Elastic Infrastructure Service is about. Don't worry about the acronym. You don't need to remember it. It's internal Cisco jargon. What I'm going to do now, however, is change from the presentation software into a web browser. I'm on the iPad, and the reason why I'm on the iPad is that well, I want to be able to log into the Cisco's internal network. And it's easiest when you are using a VPN client called AnyConnect. So on my personal iPad, I have a Cisco AnyConnect VPN client that is now, as you can see from the top left there, the VPN connection is active. So I can now access the Cisco internal network. And here I've logged into the city's portal, the storefront, so to speak. So this is the self-service portal of Cisco IT's internal private cloud. And as you can see, there are a bunch of services they offer from this portal that are available for all Cisco employees. I'm a sales guy, I don't need all of this stuff, but it's still available for me. So for example, from end user services, I could go in, order a virtual desktop for me, and also order a virtual desktop client, a thin client or zero client device for myself. That's one of the end user services that's available here. What we could do in the portal, or what Cisco IT could do in the portal, is provide, for example, the ability to order pens and pencils and chairs and tables for the office. But now it's just a private cloud IT portal, nothing more than that. There's external cloud resources, which is pretty interesting. So Cisco IT's plan, they have the capability already. What they don't have is the agreements. But they have the plan of combining our internal IT service catalog and our provisioning system to an external cloud provider's service, so that we could do cloud bursting. If I need more capacity that they have available in their data center, they could actually go in and order that capacity from an external cloud provider. The tools they are using already have adapters to hook up to Amazon's cloud service, so the technical facilities are there, but it's now a question of agreeing on the pricing and so forth. So that's why this is grayed out at the moment. Well, I could order platforms or applications, databases, in most cases Apache servers and so forth, do the whole platform as a service thing, maybe a bit of software as a service. And then there's the infrastructure resources, IaaS, infrastructure as a service. And I'm now going to click that, and we'll see whether the wireless LAN works. It does work. Here it gives me a couple of options. I can order a whole virtual data center, a VDC. If you know VMware's vCloud Director, that includes the notion of VDC, a virtual data center. So it's a whole virtualized environment where you have a number of virtual machines connected to a number of virtual networks. And I could go in and order that, but the easiest way, and for the demonstration purposes, the fastest way is to go into Cities Express, which is basically ordering virtual machine capacity from a data center they have available already. So let's click order. I could look at the pricing. There's going to be an internal charge for my boss actually for ordering this virtual machine, but it's not too much, so let's not worry about it. So, as I have now logged into our storefront with my user credentials, it knows who I am, Tommi Saxelin, it knows my email address, my Active Directory login, and it knows my organization. So this is actually the number string that is used to send the bill to my boss. So my boss will see a cost coming in there. As you can see, the data center where the capacity is going to be provided from is in Allen, Texas. The reason for that is that, well, Cisco has about 50 big data centers worldwide. Well, we are migrating and transforming them one by one into virtual cloud data centers. And the one in Texas is ready. The one in Amsterdam, which is going to be the closest one to us from this point of view, is being built at the moment. So that's why I don't get to choose Amsterdam. I will get this resource from Allen, Texas. It's actually a pretty cool data center, and there's a bunch of stuff that you might want to have a look at if you are building a physical data center. They don't use batteries, for example, in the UPSs. Well, they use flywheels, and there's all sorts of interesting stuff going on with the cooling and so forth. So I'll be happy to discuss that in one of the coffee breaks, but let's not focus on that too much. Let's go in and select a template of what type of a virtual machine I want to use. Well, as you can tell, this is an internal IT private cloud for internal users who know about IT. So the descriptions are, you know, IaaS 6.1.0. something, Windows 2008 server release 2. So that's what I'm going to choose, because I want to be able to connect to a Windows desktop and show it to you. There's Red Hat Linux, there's more Windows stuff I don't know about. Wayne's first image dev. So all sorts of templates, but let's pick the Windows one, it's easy. Generic Windows 2008 64-bit standard. I then get to describe it if I want. I get to choose how long I want it for. So, you know, I can pick that I want it for half a year or so, but what now we only need it for a couple of days, so let's put in 2 there. Now, I've got some green USB memory sticks here to match the color of the pants and the banners and everything. We have 2 difficult tasks. One, we have to come up with a password that has a minimum of 8 characters and mixed uppercase and lowercase, at least 1 number and 1 special character. So if somebody wants a USB memory stick matching my trouser color, you're welcome to shout.
Standard Microsoft password is 0.
Just 0.
No.
The word password with the zeros.
Word password
With
Good.
the
but
at
instead of O, 0.
Good, and then let's put some special character at the end. This is risky.
Thank you.
Sorry about that. Here's a line, don't worry.
Thanks.
So, let's start with the password and
2.0.
next exclamation point. Let's see if it works. This is usually the most difficult part. I usually fail at this. Now, there's another one. DNS name. I want to show that, you know, it's integrated into our whole IT system. So let's come up with a good name for the virtual machine to which we
Vilnius
connect.
rocks.
Who rocks?
Vilnius rocks.
Yeah, that's good. Let's put in Lithuania rocks.
Okay.
You know, to cover the whole.
You have probably Lithuania rocks.
Do you
It's a
think so?
Baltic state.
No, Lithuania rocks. Description. Yeah, let's not describe it any further. Workload type, you know, we can choose if we want it's an application server. We want it to have 1 vCPU. We don't need any extra storage. Submit. Here's the green to match the color of the day. So, the order is in. Continue. There we go. Now we have about 15 minutes to go. During that time, there's now stuff going on which I'll explain what's happening in Texas. And before the end of the presentation, I should get an email. Let's see, I've got an email client open. Yep. I should get an email saying that Lithuania Rocks is now available. And I'll then try to connect and remember the password, and you'll see that you can actually access a Windows desktop from an iPad with RDP. So, what's happening in Texas at the moment? Well, first of all, I want to mention a couple of software companies' names that you may have heard of. The portal that we were using, the storefront, you may have noticed that at the top of the browser bar or the browser tab there was a word NewScale. NewScale is a software company, well, was an independent software company that was building a product with a service catalog and a self-service portal. So those are the two elements in their software suite. A service catalog defining different services, so the menu, and then a self-service portal. A portal, the storefront that we can use. Cisco bought NewScale last year, so it is now part of Cisco. Another part which then comes under NewScale, you know, once you have the portal, the service catalog, you create a service request from the portal. That request goes into an orchestration engine built by a company called Tidal Software. Well, Tidal Software was a software company focusing on automation. They built a very interesting product for SAP's ERP systems. So, for example, right now SAP is reselling some of the Tidal software components to do SAP environment automation. But they also built a more generic automation platform for orchestration and automation. And Cisco went in and bought Tidal software as well. And Tidal had for a long time been integrating with NewScale quite nicely. So it was actually a ready package built by two companies that Cisco bought by buying the two companies last year and creating a product called Cisco Intelligent Automation for Cloud. So, Cisco Intelligent Automation for Cloud. It has a number of elements. The service catalog is defined in the NewScale piece, which is now called actually Cisco Service Catalog. So the NewScale name is no more. It has the self-service portal, which is nowadays called Cisco Cloud Portal rather than NewScale Front Office or anything like that. So that's what we accessed. Once I pressed submit in the form of the catalog or the portal, it created a service request that went into the Tidal Enterprise Orchestrator piece of software. What the Enterprise Orchestrator does is, as the name goes, it orchestrates things. In the Tidal tool, you define workflows of what you want to do. And you do it through a graphical user interface. So the guy figuring out how we provide a certain service will create a workflow by dragging in different types of graphical elements into the workflow, and each of those graphical elements will represent a certain action that is then excuse me, that is then automatically done in the data center. Those graphical elements are bound to the adapter framework. So the Tidal Enterprise Orchestrator suite, it is very generic, and then if you need to talk to a specific let's say, a specific storage platform, you have an adapter for that. So there are readily built adapters for the major storage vendors, for major server hardware vendors and so forth. And it's an open framework, so you can build adapters yourself using the XML language that is used there. So now through those adapters in the data center in Texas, the Tidal Enterprise Orchestrator is now talking to, in this case, VMware vCloud Director. So Cisco IT internally is using the vCloud Director to do much of the automation in the virtualization area. But as you can tell, because it's a generic system, through an adapter, the Tidal could be telling Microsoft Hyper-V to do a virtual machine. Or it could be talking to a KVM system through a different adapter. So that's not bound to a specific type of hypervisor, but in this case it is using VMware vCloud Director to talk to VMs, to build the VMs. It is also talking to Cisco UCS Manager, Cisco's Unified Computing System Manager, which automates the hardware provisioning of Cisco servers. I'll talk about the Cisco servers in later presentation, so let's not focus on that. And also it can do bare metal provisioning of software, so it can go in to a server provisioned here, go in and install some software on it if we want to do it. And through this is then talking to our compute, network, storage, virtual infrastructure resources. An example of what Cisco IT has built into the service catalog is a few base templates of virtual machines or virtual data centers. They actually publish a price list internally for us, and we could go from one server to 600 servers in a virtual data center, and there's a readily built price for that. What this has achieved Cisco IT to do is actually lower the delivery time of services from a couple of months, which actually was the case when we were using Sun Microsystems servers for development and so forth, now to 15 minutes. That's a promise. I think we pressed the button at about, was it 5 or about noon? So we can see if this 15 minutes holds. We should pretty soon have an email in my email folder saying that we now have a virtual machine allocated. But also the total cost of ownership for the capacity has gone down quite dramatically. Of course, the percentage points are also depending on what you are comparing it to. But when we started, we had all physical, started virtualizing, started automating, and now we are at a much lower cost. You know, we've reduced the number of operating system or the cost of operating system instances quite dramatically by doing this. So let's go into my email and see if, yes, there we go. Confirmation of your recent purchase from cities. So we now have a Lithuania Rocks VM available. Let's see if we can connect to that. Now this gets really interesting. So a new RDP connection to Lithuania rocks.cisco.com. I need to put that in for the AnyConnect VPN client to know that I'm now going into an internal network. We're ready, we'll save, and we'll try and connect. I'm really, you know, this is exciting. You know, it's always difficult to see. Well, there's something going on. There's a group policy being applied, so at least we've got an RDP connection up. Let's see if we can actually plug into it. Of course, you know, for me as a sales guy who only uses this to demonstrate what Cisco intelligent automation software can do, you know, well, it's pretty interesting, but that's it. But if you think this from the viewpoint of a real IT user within Cisco, a guy doing software development and a guy needing, you know, for from time to time 10 or 20 servers to test their software or to do, what do you call it? Well, to not translate, but anyway, do coding on servers. This is really good for them. In the past, they needed to write down an investment proposal, you know, say that I need new hardware, buy the hardware, install it, have somebody come up with an IP address and you know, do all the usual stuff. Now, all they need to do is, well, connect to a machine through RDP after having ordered it from the portal. The usual Microsoft password was password. Ta-da, we're in. And hope it doesn't drop too often. Well, surprise, surprise, you get to see a Windows desktop. So it does actually work, even in a hotel. I think if I was an IT administrator in a small business, somebody called me during a Finnish public holiday saying that we need this server now, we need to have it now. Well, how cool would it be if I could do just this and, you know, log in from a hotel, plug it in. Oh, updates, wonderful. One thing I noticed, by the way, the Windows is not activated, but I was testing this last night, and it takes about a couple of hours for Cisco IT to notice that the Windows is not activated, and I don't know how they do it in the background, but they actually do the activation for me, so that's all fine. So I could actually use this if my RDP connection wasn't dropping all the time. Well, you've seen it work. Let's leave it at that. So, what was it that I was talking about? It was Cisco Intelligent Automation Software. So, you know Cisco as being a networking vendor. We came into the data centers with our server products about 3 years ago, and now we actually have a bunch of software to do data center automation to build private clouds. What you see here, the CMDBs, the IT service management tools, billing, chargeback, all of this stuff, what companies like BMC and CA have been doing for a number of years, we are not touching that. So whatever monitoring tool you have, keep using it, that's fine. Whatever CMDB you have, we'll just plug into it, but we won't replace it. So all that Cisco does with the Cisco Intelligent Automation Software is the self-service portal, the service catalog, the orchestration and automation. All of the rest are just then plugins to the different elements. Cisco partners are able to resell the software package, and there is a starter edition available, which includes the basic functionality you saw here. So, of course, this software can be tuned to do almost anything. I mean, you can build a service catalog to offer, I don't know, a boat cruise on the river there or anything. But the service, the basic functionality that was shown here is available in the starter edition with all of the plugins and scripts pre-built and so forth. So, there we go. We were able to get a Lithuania rocks.cisco.com up and running, and during one of the coffee breaks I'll then do some interesting installations there, and we can see what we can do with that.
Is there any requirements for partners to start selling it or being qualified for it?
The question was whether there is any requirement for partners to start reselling this. There will be, yes, because it is, well, you need to know what you are doing as you are building this. So Cisco does have a certification requirement for the partners. If you are a Cisco partner and want to know about this, we can talk about it offline at our booth or afterwards. But yes, Cisco wants to make sure that the resellers know how to set it up as they resell it. So we do have some requirements.
Is there support for multi-tenancy?
Support for multi-tenancy. Yes, there is. To what extent? It's developing all the time. You can already build a multi-tenancy or multi-tenant cloud, but not to a very, very large scale. So for large-scale service providers, we are still saying that you should probably look at some other tool. But if it is depending on what the services are and how many users you have, you can use this as a multi-tenant solution, yes. And it is developing constantly to, add scalability. Any other questions?
Is it new created desktop is very limited, or you can install any programs there?
Yeah, you can install anything, yeah. So I think, I was able to log in as an admin to the desktop, so I can do anything to it. There are limitations on the firewall on what I can then push out from the machine, so I can't use it as a spam host or anything like that.
For torrents,
should be fine.
terms of development, in terms of features, you need then some kind of partnership with the Cisco, or you can do it by yourself in in-house knowledge. I mean, on the code, on some extra features if you need that.
Well, this is documented in the Cisco Intelligent Automation, documentation platform. So all of the adapters you can build yourself. Also, how the catalog looks like, how the portal looks like, all of that you can tweak yourself, and you don't need anything special from Cisco. We have a services organization that can help, can do things for you if you don't have the skills in-house. But if you have the skills in-house, just read through the documentation and hack away, and you will get amazing results. Okay, seems that my time is up. Thanks a lot. Next up, we'll be going to the meeting room Alpha for an EMC keynote, Journey to the Hybrid Cloud.